let's go ahead and start. I'm going to call to order the Municipal Boundary Commission. Mr. Williams, will you take the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Member Correjo.
Here.
Member Caruso.
Here.
Chairman Bond.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, all members are present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. We have before us as the next order of business the approval of the agenda. What is the pleasure of the Commission?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we move the item number 4, Boundary Commission election of officers, to after number 7.
And I'll second that.
And okay, any discussion on that? If none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The agenda is approved as amended. By way of announcement, we're going to begin first at the next agenda item, which will be the presentation by the town of Taos. I know a number of people have been concerned about the municipal annexation of the Taos airport. I want to confirm and absolutely assure you that this commission will not be taking up any testimony or anything related to the municipal airport. That annexation wasn't proposed to be brought before the commission. It has not been advertised, and we will take no testimony whatsoever. In the event that you are interested in speaking about the municipal airport, this is not the meeting for that. We will only be taking up those items that will be proposed by the town of Taos that were advertised in the newspapers, both in the Albuquerque Journal North and in the Taos News. The other part is that I would like to announce that if you want to speak about this annexation that's before the Municipal Boundary Commission today, that you would sign up at the back, and then we will take you up in that order. And I'll give you some instructions about the limitations on of what you can testify to in terms of the annexation itself. Mr. Williams, is there anything else that you should give?
No, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, that is perfectly adequate. The matters before the commission are those that have been noticed and as presented by Taos. Thank you.
And by way of introduction, the man sitting to the right of us is the Assistant Attorney General, Mike Williams, who is assigned to this commission. Okay, who is going to make the presentation for Taos? And also with everybody that comes forward, would you please introduce yourself, what your position is, and yes, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bond, Conejo? Porta Conejo? Carrejo, and Commissioner Caruso. Welcome back to Taos.
Thank you.
It is our pleasure to have you here. Perhaps I should start with an announcement that our neighbors might find most interesting, and that is for the convenience of our neighbors. I want to tell you that all of the parking meters outside, all parking tickets have been suspended for today, so that you can park at ease anywhere you see parking meters. And our cops are not going to be giving anybody tickets, so that you don't have to worry about that. Put your quarters back in your pocket. Well, that said, I want to tell you that we have prepared to answer any questions that you have in regards to the petition you have in front of you.
May I break in just a minute? Would you please introduce yourself?
I'm so sorry. My name is Oscar Rodriguez. I'm the town manager.
Please proceed.
And what you have today, Commissioners, is a request for approval by you for 270 acres of land that's contiguous to the town. About 80 of those acres are what we are terming corrective annexations. In other words, annexations that we have not found formal documentation for it in the past, or complete documentation for it in the past, or annexations that will correct a previous annexation where the town line split parcels. and the other 190 acres is land that is either completely surrounded or almost completely surrounded by the town limits, and or land that is already is enjoying town services, and that the town has for quite some time considered annexing, which is why also it extended services into those areas. We have prepared a presentation for you that will identify where the parcels are, exactly where the services are, and as I mentioned to you, you'll see how almost all of those areas are already currently enjoying town services, and the services that they are not right now enjoying, which are police protection, things like that, that it would not take much effort on the part of the town to go ahead and assign those areas to the respective departments that serve them. After me will follow Mr. Ed Ramsey. He will go in detail. He'll present to you in detail the maps, the parcels, as well as show you where all the infrastructure is and the history of town services in those areas. Just to tell you who all is in the audience to answer any questions that you may have. Again, Mr. Ramsey, who will have. I'll be surprised if there's anything you could ask him that he doesn't already know about those parcels. On speaker phone here, we have our town attorney, Brian James. Brian, could you just say anything to acknowledge that? Brian?
Thank you, Mr. James, for appearing by telephone.
And so, without any further ado, that's what you have here. As you'll recall that the last time you were here, a lot of these parcels were, well, almost all of these parcels were what you'd considered. There's been another 190 odd acres added to that list, and again, that represent. There was only one extra parcel added to that list, and that is this one parcel that is surrounded almost 90% by the town limits already. It represents an island right in the middle of town limits, and that's the only other parcel that we've added to here. That's the Goose, we'll refer to it as the Goosdorf Road parcel. So at this moment, I stand for any questions, and I'll pass on the detailed presentation to Mr.
Rodriguez,
Ramsey.
for the record, I understand the Town of Taos Council has approved this annexation in 2 resolutions.
Yes, sir.
Would you submit those for the record when you have
Yes.
copies for that?
You bet. You bet.
Because we need that as a basis for proceeding.
You bet. That's coming as you speak.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
So if you have no further questions of me, I'll turn it over to Mr. Ramsey.
Okay, that'd be fine.
And so here are then I will leave with you the resolutions.
Yeah, if you give them to Mr. Williams, please.
Mr.
Mr. Ramsey, thank you.
Good
You have
morning,
the floor.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. A little bit of the history of these annexations. I came to work for the town of Taos in 2007 after 31 years with the public schools, and they asked me initially to look at the city limits, the town boundaries. I immediately identified split parcels on the boundary. That very same year, the county tax assessor, in a meeting with myself and Alan Vigil, complained about split parcels on the town boundary. What they explained to me was that it makes them do an illegal administrative lot split on a split parcel on the town boundary, and they would like to do something about it. So we began working on towards that. In 2010, the county threatened to sue the town for lack of recorded documentation for annexations since 1934. The town was founded or incorporated in 1934. As you might imagine, it's difficult to find all those annexations from 34 to present day. We spent about 9 months doing that. 2011, we did find many split parcels on the town boundaries, about 36 acres worth, about 20 separate parcels, and others without adequate documentation, 36 acres. The town has today approximately 3,600 acres in size, and so it's about 1/100th of the town area was in question. So we decided to do the corrective annexations. 2011, we also found islands and areas already receiving town services contiguous to the town boundaries, to 196 acres, which the town determines should also be annexed. In 2012, the Boundary Commission convened here in Taos to hear our annexation petition. My understanding was that because of some small flaw in the notification or the noticing of the meeting, it was decided to postpone it and repeat the process later, which is today. Okay, I'd like to go over just the areas identified in the petitions. Some are very small. We have a split parcel in the boundary. Area 1 is a very small fraction of Medina Lane, north of the La Cocina restaurant at the extreme southern boundary of the town. This area was annexed in 1980, but for some reason they didn't take in Medina Lane, which is a private lane. It does split the parcel. It does force an administrative lot split on the county assessor. The area to be annexed, the property is already served by town water and Valle de los Ranchos sewer. That would be the La Cocina restaurant. Medina Lane will remain a private road. The area to be annexed, just the roadway, is 0.441 acres. Okay. Area 2.
Excuse me just a minute.
Yes.
I'm going to just advise the commissioners that if you have any questions about any particular lot for Mr. Ramsey, let's break in as he's making his presentation so we aren't going back. We're going to only have comments from the commissioners at this stage. Oh, okay. There's this gentleman tells us the problem with the lights up there. It's a little light for him. He can't read it very well. Does that help everybody? Okay, thank you. Mr. Ramsey?
Thank you. Back to Area 2. This parcel southwest of 110 SDS Road was a county island on earlier maps. It is now suddenly in the town boundaries, and we could not find an ordinance annexing it, though it's been considered to be in the town for many years. Town water and sewer are available from SDS Road. The area to be annexed is 1.3 acres. Just south of, southwest of what used to be the old Saltillo Tile Company on SDS. It's Computer Systems of New Mexico. Area 3, 508 Verde Road does not have official annexation paperwork. The parcels adjacent to it do, but not this one. The water main is on Weimer Road, 300 feet northwest of the property. No sewer service is available at present in that area. Verde Road, owned by Mr. Burl Kinney, will remain a private road. The area to be annexed is 2.6 acres. Area 4, this is one of the main areas with split parcels. The vertical line goes up a section line. That means that basically that the town boundary was formed down in this area of the Weimer subdivision before the place was carved into parcels. So there are 8 split parcels and 5 other adjacent parcels to extend the town boundary to Weimer and Hennings roads. Again, it was established on a section line before the area was split into parcels. Water service is available on Weimer, Juniper, and Hennings. Several parcels have town water service, but there's no sewer service in the area at present. The area to be annexed is 29.49 acres, bearing in mind that half of a lot of those parcels are already in the town already, with 0.534 miles of roadway that the town will be assuming Weimer and Hennings. Area 5 is 3 parcels north of Paseo del Cañon East in the Pinon Hills subdivision. This is a part of, again, the Pinon Hills subdivision. All of the other lots to the east or to the right are part of the town, and the crosshatched area underneath Cruz Alta Road and all of Paseo de Cañones, those were already in the town. For some reason, this was not annexed years ago. The lots are currently empty, but there is water service in the subdivision about 500 feet east of these lots. There's 3 fire hydrants. Area to be annexed is 3.54 acres with 1.132 miles of roadway, which the town is already maintaining. It's on Fernandez Road. Area 6 is 1 parcel north of Apple Court, split by the town boundary. There is no water or sewer service in the area at present, but the parcel is vacant. The area to be annexed, the entire parcel, is 2.96 acres. The lower half is already in the city. Again, it forces the assessor into an administrative lot split for assessment. Area 7, 3 parcels near Gustorf Road at Cruz Alta, owned by Plenekes. No official annexation ordinances have been located, but the properties have been considered inside the town boundary for years. Contains rack transport and a couple of houses. Water and sewer service is available on both Gustorf and Cruz Alta roads. The area to be annexed is 1.37 acres. Everybody's has considered these to be in the city for a long time. Just corrected paperwork. Area 8, 425 Kit Carson Road was out of the town limits on earlier maps, but has now been categorized as in the town limits by the county assessor. We've been unable to find any official annexation paperwork, but Ray Martinez, the owner, has expressed his desire to be in the town limits. He was at the meeting last year in 2012. Water and sewer are available on Kit Carson Road. He actually already is on town services. Area to be annexed is 0.7 acres. Area 9, Los Pueblos condominiums northeast of the Mariposa Apartments, was never formally annexed when the planned unit development was constructed a few years ago. It has been considered in the town limits since that construction. All 8 units are on town water and sewer service, which has been available for years at the Mariposa Apartments. The area to be annexed is 1.98 acres. Area 10, 2 parcels at the east end of Las Cruces Road, adjacent to Taos Pueblo property, were county islands on earlier maps, but have been considered in the town limits for years now. No official annexation paperwork has been found. Properties are on town water and sewer service. The area to be annexed is 0.94 acres. Interestingly enough, the former county assessor, Margie Abeta, lives on one of those lots, which was split by the town, which was never formally annexed. Area 11, there are 2 split parcels at the northeast end of Penitente Lane. One is owned by the Taos Historic Museums, the one on the top right. The parcels extend into Taos Pueblo property, but they have been quiet titled. I've seen the deeds. Both properties are on town water and sewer at present, and they're in favor of annexation. The area to be annexed is 1.01 acres. Area 12, 8 parcels in the Mabel Dodge Lujan area, which were verified by a surveyor in the original town limits in 1934. We found no de-annexation paperwork, so we don't really know why this area was ever split out from the town. The area currently is a county island between the town boundary and Taos Pueblo property. Water and sewer services are available on the southwest corner of the property, and several properties in here in Area 12 are on town water or sewer or both. The area to be annexed is 7.43 acres. Area 13, 7 parcels on Trujillo Lane, which has been considered in the town limits for many years, but no official annexation paperwork could be located. The area is surrounded by properties in the town limits. The properties are serviced with water on Trujillo Lane and sewer from Martinez Lane with a lift station. Area to be annexed is 2.08 acres. It's completely surrounded by town properties. Area 14, 23 parcels and county islands between Ranchitos Road and La Posta Road. The area was in the town in 1934. It's clearly in the original incorporation map for the town of Taos. But we found no de-annexation paperwork or anything like that. Some parcels on the southeast have been previously annexed, the far bottom right, but boundaries are unclear. The area is surrounded on all sides by properties in the town limits. Water and sewer services are available on all sides of the property, and the majority of properties are on town utilities. Several properties on Juntet Lane in the center are on town sewer service. The area to be annexed is 13.9 acres. Area 15, 3 split parcels on the town boundary north and west of Aguirre's Recycling on Camino del Medio. The cemetery on the east side does not have official annexation paperwork, and I kind of don't think the people there are going to complain one way or the other. Town water and sewer services are available on Camino del Medio. The area to be annexed is 2.95 acres. It's a corrective annexation and a split parcel, actually. Area 16, this 1-acre county island off the Salazar Road extension is now considered in the town limits by the county assessor, but no official annexation paperwork was found. It is surrounded by in-town properties. Town water service is available 298 feet north. You can see where the water main is at the top. The area to be annexed is 0.97 acres, formerly belonged to Marcia Cunningham. Area 17, 23 parcels between Upper Ranchitos Road, Calle Ezequiel, and the northern town boundary. About half of the parcels are vacant land, and 7 of the larger parcels are split by the current town boundary, causing problems for the county assessor. You can see those split parcels on the bottom. The far left, parcels, 3 parcels are split by the town boundary, and on the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parcels are split by the town boundary. I could make no sense at all of this line for the town boundary when I first began looking at the boundary. So, some residences in the area are connected to the town sewer service on Upper Ranchitos Road. That sewer line also services El Prado, all of El Prado, and Taos Pueblo. There is currently no town water service in the area, which is served by the El Prado Water and Sanitation District and the Upper Ranchitos Mutual Domestic Water Users Association. We would have to negotiate with El Prado. We think their district overlaps our service area for water, but not for sewer. The area to be annexed is 35.24 acres and 0.211 miles of Upper Ranchitos Road, which the town is already maintaining. Area 18, 23 parcels, it's a corrective annexation for missing paperwork. 23 parcels on Archuleta Lane, Paseo del Pueblo Norte, and northeast Upper Ranchitos Road. These parcels and the adjacent roadways have long been considered in the town boundary, but I was not able to find any official annexation ordinance. Archuleta Lane is one of the oldest roads in Taos and has been considered in town for a long time. All of the parcels are on town services already. The area to be, I say, re-annexed is 9.77 acres. Corrective annexation. Area 19, the SDS Road, 81 parcels between SDS Road and Arroyo de los Coyotes. The town paved and installed water and sewer services along SDS Road several years ago, and this is the boundary of the town's service area, as specified by agreement with El Valle de los Ranchos Water and Sanitation District to the south. It's generally agreed that a roadway makes a much better municipal boundary than an arroyo for obvious reasons. The rest of SDS Road is already in the town limits and town maintained. The area to be annexed is 90.06 acres and 1.015 miles of SDS Road, which, as I mentioned, we already paved, we already maintain it. Area 20, the final area, 38 parcels bounded by the current town boundary, Gustorf Road, Los Pandos Road, and Cruz Alta Road. You can see that the area is completely surrounded by properties inside the town boundary, with the exception of a small part of Los Pandos Road on the northeast, on the very top right. It's a county island. There are 4 private roads, very small roads, Coca Lane, Della Lane, Paloma Lane, and Los Pandos Court, which will remain private. Water and sewer services are available on Gustorf Road and Los Pandos Court, north of the Vegas de Taos subdivision. This annexation will make the town boundary much more sensible and contiguous. The area to be annexed is 59.75 acres, including 0.072 miles of Los Pandos Road, which is currently unpaved. Much of it is already paved. The area contains 48 homes, 16 of which have access to the infrastructure. The remaining homes on Della Lane in the center will need to provide a utility easement for the town to provide services. Again, this allows us to maintain Los Pandos Road all the way to the end of the Los Pandos Estates, which are previously annexed and part of the town limits. That's the last area. The totals then, corrective annexation, split parcels on the boundary identified as problem areas in cooperation with the Taos County Assessor's Office, a total of 36.85 acres. Corrective annexations, parcels with no official annexation paperwork, about 1/100th of the town area, a total of 35.65 acres. New annexations to make the town boundaries more contiguous, reasonable, and based on town-based maintained roadways, total of 196 acres. Roadways, a total of 2.04 miles of roadway to be annexed in 5 locations. 2 locations, Upper Ranchitos Road and Fernandez Road, are already paved. 1 was paved recently, that would be SDS Road. 2 are currently unpaved, Weimer at Hennings, and only 7/100ths of a few hundred feet of Los Pandos Road. Actually, it's less than a few hundreds. I think it's 88 feet or something. Total length is 0.654 miles of the unpaved roads. The town has estimated $450,000 to pave these 2 areas. Water and sewer lines to include mains, manholes, valves, and fire hydrants in these 2 areas, assuming we can get the utility easements. Weimer Hennings area, linear feet 3,073 feet, $291,000, 931. Gustorf area 2,134 linear feet. That's mostly along Della Lane, $202,730. It is the intent of the town of Taos to adopt an ordinance which will clearly identify a 10-year time period for connecting to town water and sewer if the subject property is within 300 feet of the service. Many of these properties are not within 300 feet of current town service, but some are. 10 years. And finally, just to take a look at the fire coverage, the volunteer fire department, Taos Volunteer Fire Department, already overlaps these areas many times with their 3 substations. So the main fire station on Camino de la Placita, south substations, substation number 2 at Camino del Santiago, and the Los Cordova substation cover most of Taos Valley. So there should not be any problem with fire coverage. And that's my presentation.
Any questions of the commission at this stage? You back on, Mr. Rodriguez?
If I may, just to close, Commissioner, so with that, you have all of the basic facts. I want to tell you, you have in the audience all of the interested staff, our police chief, our fire chief, in a room next door. In another meeting, he'll be here in a couple of minutes, is our public works director. As I mentioned, our town attorney is on the line by phone, so any question you have, I'm confident we'll be able to address. If I may just underscore something that Mr. Ramsey mentioned earlier, and that is the requirement to connect to town water. He mentioned it's a proposal at this point. Policy does not address that. So for all practical purposes, anyone who is connected to a water well at this point, or served by a water well at this point, is grandfathered, will be grandfathered. The idea is that as we extend water lines into other areas, we'll consider it sometime in the future putting a time limit for that to happen. And that is tied a lot with a recent settlement we had in our water rights, in a water rights dispute that we had with the Pueblo. And so anyway, I at this point have no other information to present to you. Of course, we stand for any questions that you may have now or in the future.
Mr. Rodriguez, are you planning to, oh, is this off? Is that better? Okay. Are you planning to have any testimony by the fire chief or the police chief? I know that in our package that was sent to us, there was a memorandum from each one of them.
Yes, sir.
Do you have anything additional to that?
No, sir. We have no other presentation to give you other than what's already been put in the packet.
Okay.
As I mentioned to you, they are here to answer any questions you
Yeah,
may have.
Perhaps, Mr. Rodriguez, at least those memoranda ought to be submitted, because we got the package.
All right.
We're at the hearing now in case that, if there's no objection, we might accept those memoranda. But there may be questions of the police chief or the fire chief at some point, based on whatever else we might hear.
All right.
Anything?
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, in that line, I'd also ask that the town print out the presentation that you just gave Mr. Ramsey, and submit that as part of the petition so that the record is complete in that
Okay.
regard. Mr. Chairman, with your permission.
Yes. If you can do that, Mr. Ramsey, and we'll have those other two as well. We've marked the resolutions that you've given to us as for the record of exhibits A, B, and C. We'll want the two memoranda. That'd be, I don't know whatever order
Yes, sir.
they come in, and plus then this presentation.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
If you have other questions of me, I'll just step
Anybody
in.
else from the city? I mean, the town?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
At this point, our presentation is done, and we will just assume the role of answering questions as you asked.
All right. All right. With that being said, we've heard the conclusion of the presentation by the town of Taos, and now we'll start to hear public comment. But let me just say that the public comment that we'll request now is from any representatives from the county of Taos, who are officially representing the county of Taos. And then I'll acknowledge and permit anybody who is a elected public official, and I know we have Councilor Peralta here with us, who had served in the House of Representatives with Mr. Caruso, and they both came after me when I was in the House. But we'll hear from them, and then only when we've completed all of that presentation will we go into public comment. Do we have anyone from the County of Taos to make a presentation? Are you coming in your official capacity authorized by the commission?
I am from the Environmental Santos Farm Sanitation District. I just wanted to get an opportunity to speak directly.
Yes, we'll permit you to do so, but I'm asking for somebody authorized to be here on behalf of the County Commission of Taos County. Before we'd had the Taos County manager and some others. If not, then I would invite public officials. I know one public official here, Fred Peralta. Councilor Peralta, do you have anything that you want to make? And if you do, would you please come forward and introduce yourself and your position, and then you will be permitted to speak, if you would, please.
Good morning, and thank you very much for being here and visiting with us and helping us try to put some sense into what we feel the town boundaries should be and what our responsibility is to provide services, and more importantly, those services that are necessary to protect the public safety. I really don't have anything to say this morning other than to thank you for coming out and visiting with us, and we appreciate very much your being here. I would just like to say that most of the presentation that you've heard this morning is what the town feels is a responsibility and policy to provide services and to protect the public welfare. I am here only to observe and to answer any questions that may come up from a policy standpoint that you might want to hear from the council as to their perspective on an issue or a question. So,
Mr. Peralta, thank you for being here, but for the record, would you state your name for the record and your position, please?
my name is Frederick Peralta, and I'm a member of the town council.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peralta. And if you're going to stay here, there may be somebody that has a question about the council. Keeping in mind that we may refer a question to you, I won't permit a question directly from the floor to you.
Correct.
But if you're deferential and wish through Mr. Rodriguez to come and answer a question with respect to the policy of at the Town of Taos Council, we'll appreciate that very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other elected officials? I will recognize the gentleman from the Water and Sanitation District. Sir, before you come up, did you sign in?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And I'm going to do this because, are you an elected member of the Water and Sanitation District?
I am the project engineer for El Valle de los Ranchos, and I was involved in the negotiations between El Valle and the town.
Okay. Would you introduce yourself for the record, please?
Alex R. Beta.
And would you tell us what your official position is and the official name of the association that you're representing?
I am the project engineer for the El Valle de los Ranchos Water and Sanitation District. And basically, I come here before you today to just confirm that the proposed annexation of the town of Taos up to the Estes Road area is supported by the El Valle de los Ranchos Water and Sanitation District. Several years ago, when the El Valle de los Ranchos needed wastewater capacity at the wastewater treatment plant, the mayor and council and the El Valle board agreed to an interconnection agreement that provided for El Valle to collect or sewer through trunk lines and send it down to the town sewer plant for treatment, which is kind of a regionalization concept. As part of that same agreement, the El Valle board agreed to allow the town to service up to the Estes road area, and with the understanding that they would eventually annex to that boundary. As part of that agreement, El Valle agreed not to impose their mill levy property tax on all those properties between Estes Road and the Arroyo de los Coyotes. So the property owners in this area have not been double taxed as in other areas north of town. So basically, El Valle is looking for support and recommending the annexation of this area between Estes Road and Arroyo de los Coyotes. However, there is one sliver of land that wasn't part of that agreement, and it's a very small sliver that Mr. Rudy Perea showed me, and it's, Mr. Ramsey, if you could bring it up, it's a sliver of land north of the La Cocina restaurant next to Medina Lane.
Let me ask you
On
this.
State Highway 68.
Okay, let me ask you if we could isolate it on the particular parcel that you're speaking about. Do you know which one that was, Mr.? Is that the number one?
Yes,
Okay.
it's number one.
Is that what the parcel that you're speaking
That's
of,
it.
Mr. Abeta?
So this particular area one was not part of the interconnection agreement. So as the project engineer for El Valle, I cannot recommend support for annexation of that. If this commission felt comfortable, you could consider the recommendation for annexation contingent upon the El Valle board looking at that at a future meeting. But back then, the El Valle board didn't want the annexation to continue south, further south. So the agreement was premised on the final annexation would go up to Estes Road, and then El Valle would provide water and sewer service to everything south of that.
Let me just, if you'll wait there just a minute. Mr. Ramsey, is parcel number one of the new parcels that we didn't consider last time?
No, sir. It was considered last time.
Okay. This one, when we had the failed hearing of last year, this parcel was part of that annexation proposal before us last year. Was there some reason that you weren't able to get with the city of the annexation people and or your biased board?
To the best of my knowledge, we provided the city an Exhibit A, which is the exhibit to the interconnection agreement that showed all the area to be annexed up to SDS Road. It did not include Area 1. That was added in at some point in time, and while it makes sense to take this little finger that's surrounded by town jurisdiction into the town, it has not been approved by the El Valle board. So I did not attend the previous meeting last fall. I believe the attorney for El Valle, Rene Barala Gutierrez, may have attended. I'm not sure. But all I'm stating is that Area 1 was not part of the interconnection agreement and what the board agreed to be annexed.
Any questions of the commissioners?
No.
Does that complete your presentation?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Anybody else representing an official body or an elected official would like to speak? Okay, if not, what we'll do now is we will take testimony from members of the public. Let me give you some words in advance of that, please. First of all, I'm going to reconfirm for those of you who came in after we began the presentation that there will be no testimony taken about anything about the Taos Municipal Airport. That was not advertised for consideration by the Municipal Boundary Commission, and it is not before the Municipal Boundary Commission. It has to be advertised and be presented to us by a resolution of the town of Taos, and it has not. So if you're here with respect to your interest in the municipal airport, I can kind of let you go if you want. Otherwise, just listen. Now, I will call up the people in the order that they have signed in. But let me give you this also. Our standard of review, that is how we consider an annexation, is based under state law. There's nothing here that whether the commissioners like it or don't like it. We're not a political body. We're serving in a quasi-judicial capacity in making that determination. And the two standards for review are these. The first one is the parcels that are being proposed contiguous to an existing town limit by virtue of being pulled in through annexation. Are they contiguous? And it seems that, as Mr. Ramsey put it, they seem to have been. You may have a different view of that. And the second standard review is, can the town of Taos, after annexation, provide essential public services? You heard a testimony with respect to each parcel that's proposed about sewer service, water service, and the like. And then you heard also that I alluded to a memo from the fire chief and the police chief about being able to provide essential public services. So with that in mind, what I'll ask you to do, and I'm going to limit each speaker to 5 minutes, I'm going to limit you to coming up first. Please give us your name for the record. And then if you would, if you're going to speak about a particular parcel, identify that parcel, and then speak to it on those two standards. Is the parcel contiguous, and may the town of Taos provide essential public services? If you were going to talk more broadly about just the standards of review, contiguity and provision of essential public services, we'll permit that. But to the degree that you deviate from those areas of comment, that is, you don't like it or you do like it, it's fine if you say that, but nevertheless, we're not here about the debate of whether the town council did its job correctly or not. This annexation proposal is before the Municipal Boundary Commission properly, and we will review and take testimony and consider only on the basis of what I've just described. Okay. With that, we're going to begin. The first person that I have that signed up is a Mr. Vince Martinez. Mr. Martinez, will you introduce yourself and please proceed? And I'll just kind of keep it informally, but we're going to limit you to 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, good morning. My name is Vince Martinez, and I have property up at 319 Upper Ranchitos Road. That's in parcel 17. I live right about where the sewer, it points to the sewer main there. But before I start, I'd like to begin with a question. I don't know if it pertains to the boundary or not, but I was wondering why some landowners are not notified. I've got my two neighbors, one's in the building here, and the other one lives up in Roy, New Mexico. I had phone contact with him yesterday, and he was never informed of this meeting.
Okay. Let me answer this, is that Mr. Martinez says there was two forms of notice, but the ones for the commission is required is that it be advertised in a newspaper of general circulation for Taos, in Taos County, and it was advertised 3 weeks in the Journal North section. And then the town of Taos, Mr. James, who's with us on the telephone, had it additionally advertised a couple of times in the Taos News. I do understand that some people got an actual letter, but that's not a requirement under law. The requirement for notice is for the Municipal Boundary Commission to publish it in a newspaper of general circulation, and that was completed.
Well, with all due respect, I subscribed to the Taos paper, and I never saw a notice.
Okay?
Well, I did get a letter, but that doesn't matter that
Go ahead.
much. Okay, if I may continue then,
Thank you.
and I've got a prepared statement here that if I may, I'd like to read off of it.
Okay, and you may submit that if you'd like.
Pardon me?
You may submit the written statement if you'd like to.
Submit it?
Yeah, you may submit it after you've read.
I'll have to get a copy typed.
Okay.
Like I said, my name is Vince Martinez. I live at Upper Ranchitos. As a member of the community, I have been a licensed plumbing and heating contractor since 1972 until my recent retirement. Being retired, the annexation has me concerned as how, now that I'm on a fixed income and the tax rate is going to increase for sure on my property, has the potential to become too expensive. The annexation is clearly an attempt by the town of Taos to increase income for the city. And I don't mind paying taxes, you know, but sometimes it's wasted. We had a situation here. I have no problem with paying reasonable taxes, but what I don't like is having our tax dollars wasted. How much did it cost the town of Taos to suppress the First Amendment rights of a town citizen in the past? It's been in the paper for the last 2 years. I have growing concerns about mandates to force people with established wells and septic systems being forced to tie into city water and sewer, something that will probably never happen. We've got the one of the parcels there on Weimer that was annexed quite a few years ago. They still don't have all the facilities that the town has promised. If this mandate holds true, is there a financial assistance to tie into this utilities? Will there be a need for me to cap my well that was costly to drill and my right to have as a landowner? What will happen next? And I've experienced this in Albuquerque when I lived there. They have a mandate to where you can't have any more livestock because it's in the town. That's coming. I tell you, that's for sure it's coming. Like I said, I'm a livestock owner enjoying a small herd of sheep that come from the multiple generations in my family. Well, they have to be sold, so more of my heritage will be lost. Elected officials, I feel as though my concerns fall on deaf ears, as other agendas seem to be first and decisions made that are unwanted shoved down our throats, and we have to deal with it all at our expense. Sooner or later, the locals here will not be able to afford to live here, especially the ones on fixed income. At this point, I can only hope that this statement does not fall on deaf ears, and my firm no will be heard loud and clear, as there are times when leaving well enough alone is not a bad thing. My life is simple. I intend to keep it that way, as I enjoy my land, my sheep, and my water well undisturbed, and I stand firm and not wanting this annexation.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Any questions, commissioners? Okay. Please, for the benefit of the commission, I've told you what the standards of review, and so that's fine. I would ask you to restrain from response one way or another for any person who testified.
Well, I'm glad I got one shot in.
Okay. Mr. Martinez, thank you very much. But I will advise the city as you come up these general questions. Mr. Martinez, in terms of what we can consider, the one part that we can consider was this issue about the well, capping of the well, and the non-use of the well. Mr. Martinez, with all due respect, there's an awful lot of things that you said we can't consider, but I'm going to point out to the city
Okay,
to respond. Thank you very much. The next up, we have Rob. Is it Robert Block? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
before we take further public comment, I would like to ask that we submit hearing Exhibit F into the record. It's actually a Department of Finance and Administration document, which is notice of the meeting. And in response to Mr. Martinez's concern, which was another issue that he did raise, which was a notice matter, I'd like to make sure that this is included in the hearing record.
Okay.
I realize it's part of your packet and that it's properly before the commission, but I'd like your permission to add that as Exhibit F.
Is there any objection by the members of the commission?
No, Mr. Chairman, I think maybe we might want to make this available to folks to look at,
Absolutely.
to show that there was, in fact, the appropriate and legal notice.
Okay. Is there any objection? No. Okay, then it should be made as Exhibit F. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes-
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Will you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name's Dr. Robert Block.
Could you spell that? Because
B-L-O-C-K.
I'm looking at it here, and
I printed it,
Yeah.
I think. Actually, I'm glad I came today. I found it really very informative so far as to what's really involved. But I've been living here at 1565 Weimer Road, one of the split areas, for over 9 years. And my concern was, and I guess the main thing was, which apparently is not for discussion here, is the fact that services are provided, and supposedly we were told that these would help improve services to our area. I can't see which services would be improved. We seem to function very well. My concern was basically the water and the sewer for people who have adequately functioning wells and septic tanks. The idea of suddenly having to hook up to water, hook up to sewage, and pay those services just doesn't really seem fair. And I know you've mentioned from the previous speaker this wasn't really totally involved, but I'd like to at least reinforce the feeling of many of the people in my area who are involved in this discussion that this is a strong point and a meaningful point. I won't take 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
Thank you. The next person I have before the commission is Mr. Eugene Sanchez.
Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, my name is Eugene A. Sanchez. And before I start, can I have Area 13? Okay. Before I start, I'd like to bring up an issue in terms of jurisdiction, in terms of whether or not the town has submitted the proper process for this hearing. We have 2 resolutions authorizing the mayor and the town attorney and the town manager to pursue a petition for annexation from the Boundary Commission. Where is the petition? We have not been able to locate one. And according to the latest Court of Appeals decision, a petition is a jurisdiction. The sufficiency of a petition is a jurisdictional issue, and it can be brought up at any time. And I think it's important that this commission look at that, because we could not locate a petition, nor the city provide us with a petition regarding this request. Thank you. Going back to, and then the other issues on 13. If you go to, on the town submitted on the resolution, at the end of it, they put down 20 areas what they showed up there in terms of where they're going to annex. Item 13 reads as follows. 7 parcels on Trujillo Lane which have been considered in the town limits for years, but no official annexation paperwork can be located. The area is surrounded by properties in the town limit. The properties are serviced with water on Trujillo Lane and sewer from Martinez Lane with a lift station. That's a false statement. If you go down Trujillo Lane, starting with the second house, the next 6 houses, everything is serviced. Everything is serviced from Martinez Lane. There is no sewer line on Trujillo Lane. I have a sewer line. I have a lift station. And the reason for that was happened 2 years ago because the property at the end of my property was for sale and they needed a sewer line. And one of the city councilmen was working with the same realtor company that had the place up for sale. So we made a deal. They bought an easement from Martinez across to my sister-in-law's property. My sister-in-law gave the town a utility easement to the end of my property where they installed the lift station. And then I agreed to give the next person down the line a utility easement. And part of that agreement, I have to pay $10 to the town every month for the electricity for the use of the lift station. My real concern here is the 6 houses there, because across from them into Martinez Lane, there is no utility easements. It was back in the old days. You know, my friend, you can, sure, run a line. Now some of those lines are covered by houses, and they cannot be moved. What happens if one of those lines goes wrong? There is no sewer line. There's no sewer service. Last time, as we recall, Mr. Chairman, the town said that they were going to propose an ordinance and have it ready by March, outlining how they were going to provide all the services within a reasonable time, plus the cost and everything. It never happened. We never saw a draft of it. After the presentation that they made, end of discussion. Mr. Chairman, I think we need to really look at these issues in terms of the petition, going back to the petition. A petition precisely addresses every item they are addressing and gives details rather than just a general statement. We're going to provide this or this is provided. The other question is, they said roads. How many roads? Are they belong to the town or do they belong to the state or the federal? They also mentioned the federal, in the Pueblo. Have they made any agreements with the Pueblo? Have they, or we just we have to negotiate. Well, the thing is they should have negotiated before getting here. Those are issues that I think are important to this commission to consider. I think the annexation process eventually is going to happen, but I think that it has to be done legally and properly. That's all we ask for. And the other thing is that we need a clear definition of a reasonable time. 18 years I waited to have a sewer that worked, because the other one I paid for myself. I paid out of my own pocket. And it took some political maneuvering to do that. What is reasonable time? 20 years? The other thing is that they're going to say, we're going to grandfather everything else. Where is the ordinance? An ordinance should have been prepared, drafted, or something, and presented to this body to ensure that something's going to happen. All we hear is hearsay. We're going to do this, we're going to do this. But does it not happen? No. That's my real concern, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Sanchez. He's brought up several points with respect to that particular parcel. Any questions of the commission?
One in particular, sorry.
Commissioner Porter, correct.
One in particular that perhaps the city of Taos could respond to is the question about the petition for annexation. Do you have those? Could they be submitted for part of the record?
Yeah, Mr. James.
Well, yes, the petition consists of the resolutions that were passed, and there was a transmittal letter to the Boundary Commission somewhere around March 26th of this year. I don't have my file in front of me that requested this hearing and references the two resolutions. And since there's no definition in the statute as to what a petition is supposed to look like, we're relying on the resolutions of the transmittal letter to the DFA, to the Boundary Commission requesting this hearing.
And Mr. Chairman, relating to some other items that, and I'm not certain that we can consider these, but I believe he brought up some good points. Does the city have a time frame where these services will be provided? Is that spelled out in an ordinance, in a resolution at this point in time when those services will be provided?
Commissioner Caruso, anything?
I guess I would just add, and maybe Mr. James can respond to this, maybe Mr. Sanchez can also help us, but was there some vote that was made by the Taos Council to actually address these specific parcels of land? And maybe we can get that if we don't have that in our files in front of us. My thinking is that a lot of this was probably provided to us in the earlier hearing that we had last year, and we've now added some new parcels to it. But I think what Mr. Sanchez is saying, and I think this is required, is something from the Taos Council that specifically identifies each parcel, and that's what we should be looking at today.
Yes.
Do I understand you correctly?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, I don't believe that a resolution or even a letter asking, setting up, we're requesting you, a petition has to be, has to be some form of legal document saying to comply with the annexation statute of New Mexico in terms of, for anybody to assume jurisdiction in any hearing. I can send you a letter and asking you, we want you to consider this. Well, the thing is you have to submit documentations to precisely address what you're going to do instead of coming here and, giving us a video when the public didn't have that information.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Yeah. We'll have to address some of those things as they'd like to. Thank you very much for participating. The next speakers, please, if you'd hold back, and that gives everybody an opportunity. The next speakers we have are Mary and Tom Powell.
My name is Tom Powell. I live at 227 Upper Main.
Yeah, I'd ask you to come before the mic if you're going to make a presentation.
I'm not going to make a presentation.
Okay.
My concern is financial.
Thank you. The next person on the list is Sharon Milstein. Ms. Milstein?
Good morning. My name is Sharon Milstein, and I live on Amador Lane, and I believe, there was a letter sent to me, and by the way, I'm keeping track of my minutes.
Okay.
There was a letter sent to me. I believe I'm in the Area 19, because I'm right next to the Arroyo. I was here last year also, right after they put in the lines on SDS Road, assuming that they would get their annexation. They did that way ahead. I don't know what money they used, because I know that not only is there still a recession, but the economy in Taos has always been very burdened and very low income. In fact, last year, my daughter came to stay with me for a couple of days. She got very ill, and I was recovering from a broken leg. We called up 911, and they didn't even have an ambulance to send. So how are they going to do all this and charge us money? I don't know. Statistics are that New Mexico is one of the poorest states of the Union. That's number one. Statistics are that there are more senior citizens, and I think I'm one right now, than ever before. What that means is that we are on fixed incomes, we're retired, we're disabled. And I'm all of those. I've had to cancel many services, including my trash, my AAA that I had for 23 years. And I mentioned this last year, so I've had to downsize quite a bit. I live alone with my animals. I moved and built my house 24 years ago because I wanted to be near the arroyo and I wanted to be outside of the town proper. I wanted to raise my food. I wanted to raise my animals. One of my chickens just had 2 babies. And it's a joy in my life to be able to live after raising children and working all my life. And now I sit back, I lick my wounds with my disabilities. And you know, I serve my own self tea when I need to have something. There's nobody else there. But the sweetness of why I took every penny I had and have put it into my home and land is what gives me the solace to continue living. I don't understand if there's no ambulance service, how the money is going to get there to put in all of this, and how are the people like me, how am I going to pay thousands of dollars that I don't want to? I feel like it's bullies. It's nepotism, it's cronyism, it's all of this, bunch of stuff. It has to do with greed, which really has to do with a lot of things in America right now, the greed. I'm opposing this annexation because I lived and moved and put every penny of my life into this agricultural area because I wanted to be there. I wanted to be with the people who have the same interests. I do not want, I have a well, and I have a septic. I do not want, nor did I buy into any of that when I first got there. And, again, all these papers that they say aren't there, it's like the dog ate my homework. It's like, come on. It's not there. Don't use the excuse anymore. Don't even say it. It's not there, period. The town is being greedy about money, and this annexation is, if it was allowed, it would render us, still have another minute, struggling even more, us residents, homeless, because if I had to pay thousands and thousands of dollars, I'd have to sell my home, which is kind of underwater right now. This is not the time to do this. My area is full of many people my age who are retired, disabled, and seniors. We put in our time. My father's buried in the National Cemetery because he was a veteran, and he was a deputy sheriff in Albuquerque. My family's there about 60 years. But there are many people in my area that are there hundreds and hundreds of years. Like the man talking about his sheep, me talking about my pollos and pollitos. This is what we choose. I've been here 30 years almost, and I have the right to keep what I knew I was getting from the beginning. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Stein. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Please. The next person I have, if I get this correctly, is Kevin Cannon. Okay, thank you, Mr. Cannon.
My name is Kevin Cannon. I live in I'm not sure of the number, I think it might be 7. It's the Maple Dodge 7 acres. The first thing, I would like a clarification. I believe Oscar possibly mentioned something about grandfathering in of wells. Could I please have a clarification on that?
Let me go ahead and give us that. What I'll ask to do is that, go ahead and give your statement, because and then we'll get these clarifications.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have, I'm really hoping that my land taxes due to annexation, if this happens, do not go up the 20%. I've been told that they're going to go up. And secondly, I have a well, and it's delicious Taos sweet water, and I do not want to connect to town water if there's a possibility in that. Due to the fact that a well, closing off and capping a well, it's a $25,000 prospect of digging a well to begin with, and that means my property and value of my land will be devalued that amount. And connecting to town water, I don't see, that would be a huge expense to me, which I cannot afford. That's basically my statement. I'm, though, quite interested in what Oscar had to say, and I'd really be appreciated if I could have a clarification on that. If I can maintain my well, that would really be terrific, and I think for most people that have them, I think they would feel the same way. If I could have that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Cannon. What we'll do is, I'm asking Mr. Ramsey and Mr. Rodriguez to take all of these points, and we will ask them to address all of these points, but we will get a feeling from everybody that wants to testify, and I'm going to ask you to have to stay so that you can get that clarification.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Cannon.
very much.
The next one we have up is Robert Knutson. I hope I have that, Mr. Knutson, correctly.
Good morning. My name is Robert Knutson. I live in Area 4, which is behind you, 1104 Hennings Road. I also have a question for Mr. Rodriguez. They alluded to the 300-foot limit for requiring hookups, and 300 feet from where to where? That's my question.
Okay.
Also, it's my understanding that if this annexation occurs, those of us in the county will very, very quickly be rezoned to what I do not know, but that is an issue, I believe, that has to deal with costs and increased tax load, et cetera. I would like to point out that on this idea of continuity or contiguous alignment, if you'll notice on this map, the Weimer Road, which is on the lower portion, and then is bisected or run into by Hennings Road, those boundaries seem to me, just looking at them, it's significantly longer than those that are contiguous with the town limits at this time. I would also say that the unspoken and implied idea of increased safety, if you will, by putting in a sewer line boils down to, will there be contamination from septic systems into wells? A study, a very significant study that has gone on for many years, but includes 25 years. This is from the New Mexico Environmental Department. Dennis McQuillan is the manager of that. And the liquid waste program listed all of the counties in New Mexico, and in that 25 years in Taos County, there are 2 contaminations reported for the entire 25 years. And I'll point out that on this area that you're looking at, these are 3-acre plots. There are approximately 1.2 to 3 people living in each plot. We have relatively new septic systems. Some of us are connected to water. Most have their own wells. Nonetheless, the contamination element, I think, is minimal, and the cost of putting in a sewer line would be millions. I checked with my plumber. I said, how much would it cost for me, who would have to bear the burden of connecting to my home, cost to just dig the line and lay the lines in there? He said $4,500. Mine would also require 2 lift stations. That is, I'm about 30 feet below where the sewer line would be. Mechanical things break. The old proverbial saying, things run downhill. Given a mechanical failure, which would be at my expense, my house would flood with raw sewage. And this goes for most people living along the Weimar segment there. Another thing, our services are excellent. Most of them, many of them provided at our own cost, water, sewer. And we have police and fire adequate protection, and we're very, very happy with it. And I do have some letters from other people that are working today, could not attend, saying that they do not wish to be annexed. The taxes that they have been alluded to, and also some of the spending that the town does sometimes is questionable, such as we have a multi-million-dollar soccer field. It's beautiful. You build it, they will come. They have not. Unfortunately, it sits there rather idle most of the time. So again, the question of, where is this money going to go? And I can't answer that, of course, but it is a question for the 20% tax increase. So, your consideration of fiscal prudence, increasing town government encroachment and excess spending, all in face of effective and appreciated county services, begs to deny the annexation request by the town of Taos for the areas they have so designated. Thank you.
That's your statement, Mr. Knudsen. Thank you. Any questions of the commission? Thank you, Mr. Knudsen.
May I give you these papers?
Sure.
And petitions?
Yeah, please present them to Mr. Williams. The next person I have on is, I believe it's Juan Duran. Do I have that correct? Is it Mr. Duran? Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Boundary Commission, my name's Juan Duran, and I live at 241 Maria Luisa Road.
Would you repeat your street name again, please?
241 Maria Luisa Road.
Okay.
I went over to the county assessor's office and I looked up the tax rate that I'm paying now versus the tax rate if I'm annexed into the town of Taos. The tax rate that I presently have is $14.36 per thousand. The tax rate if I'm annexed into the town of Taos is $16.90 per thousand. That's an increase of 15.03%. And my property tax would increase by $428.75. This has been brought up by some of the other speakers as to how much the tax rate would increase. The only one I know is the one for my property. But more than likely, about the same rate would be true for the rest of the people affected. I know that the tax rate, according to the assessor's office, will increase again this coming year. I don't know what the tax rate would be for the town of Taos. One of the things that concerns me is how much is the town going to charge the affected people to connect to the sewer and water lines. At one time, I was given a figure of $3,800, and the line would have to be brought from the trunk line to the property line. I don't know whether this would still continue or not, and whether the water lines would also have to be connected. That would be an extra cost. The estimate that I made during the time when I was a licensed plumber and doing plumbing business was that I would, at that time, charge $10,000 to connect that type of a line. That's quite expensive. I don't know whether the town has made any cost estimates with the mechanical contractors for this type of service. If they do, can that be made available to us? And also, what is the time frame that the town is going to require if we're annexed in to connect to the sewage and the water line? And I think that my wife and I do not want to be annexed into the town of Taos. I believe that the county has done a very good job in providing for the health, safety, and welfare of the people within the proposed annexation. I am very happy to have built within the county's jurisdiction, and I am very happy with their service. I would like just to point out that the town of Taos maintains the road from Morgan Road to the Arroyo de los Coyotes. From the Arroyo de los Coyotes to STS Road, the county maintains that road. It's not the other way around, as it is brought up by Mr. Ramsey. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duran. Any questions of the commission? Okay. The next person I have on the list is Vincent. I'm not sure about this. Puleo or?
That's right, Puleo.
Oh, I'm lucky.
You're smart. Yes, my name is Vincent Puleo. I live on 600 Estes Road. When I first came into the meeting, I thought it was just an attendance sheet. I signed it, and then as we progressed, I realized I might not be able to speak because I'm not part of one of the annexation portions being discussed. But then I read Area 19, and maybe I am. It's Area 8. I live on 600 Estes Road. The Area 19 stops way before that at Maestas Road. But if you read the next to last paragraph, it says, the rest of Estes Road is already in the town limits. My question is, am I going to be annexed next to comply with what that slide says, or is that just a typo? And if that's just a typo, maybe there are typos every place else in the report. To get a little more serious, I think it is a typo, but I live on Estes Road. My land is contiguous, not my land. The subdivision I live in, the Alger Davis subdivision, is contiguous with parts of the existing town boundary. My question is, in the future, is this the end of the annexation by the town? Have they straightened out all their boundaries, all their islands of county land, all their half lots and everything like that? Or do they intend to expand further? That's my question. And I'm not getting into the airport or anything like that, but is this the package for the town boundary for the foreseeable future? That may not be a subject of this meeting, but I think it's something worth getting a response from the town.
Thank you, Mr. Puleo. And let me confirm something here in
Yes.
case anybody has a notion. You don't have to be part of the annexation to come to make a comment if you're a resident, I guess, of the state of New Mexico, you probably have a, if you're a resident of Colorado, I'm probably not going to want your testimony.
Okay.
I just want to confirm that.
Okay,
that
okay,
that your testimony is welcomed.
Okay, well, maybe then I can add a little more. I still got 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay.
If you're completed, thank you, Mr. Pelea.
What's that?
If you're completed, thank you.
Well, I just like to state that the costs will go up tax-wise. Not only will your land, if you do get annexed, your land will go up because, oh, now you got sewer, now you got water, it's going to go up. Oh, but then your property value will go up also because your land is worth more because you got sewer and water now. So it's a double whammo, and so it's 20%, maybe a lot higher than that number. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Palaio. L.M. Rosenthal. Yes, Mr. Rosenthal?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Louis Rosenthal. I live at 1517 Weimer Road in Area 4, under consideration. As a homeowner and taxpayer in the proposed annexation zone, I respectfully express questions about and opposition to the annexation of my property into the town of Taos at this time. As I understand the issue, certain pro-annexation authorities claim the advantages of the proposed annexation consist of providing important services to those now living in the proposed annexation area. Those services reportedly include, but are not limited to, water, wastewater, and increased security, meaning law enforcement or fire services. Speaking for myself, I already have those utilities and access to law enforcement and fire services. My residence has a productive water well, recently tested as very good quality by Taos County, a working inspected septic system with a recently upgraded drain field, and access to law enforcement and fire services. Even though I am unaware of any town of Taos official estimate of the cost of hookup to the proposed utilities, a neighbor has reportedly consulted with a licensed plumber, and the proposed cost of hookup is estimated to be in the thousands of dollars. I submit that a similar hookup for me as a retired person would be an unnecessary and burdensome cost as a homeowner and taxpayer. I hasten to add that I don't object to paying taxes, but I like to get good value for the taxes I pay. When I was in the working world, I told my employees at our meetings, you may not get your way, but you'll have your say. So I'm simply here to have my say. I respectfully request that you reject the annexation of Parcel 4 at this time, and until such time as the advantages of annexation become more abundantly clear to property owners and taxpayers. Thank you for your consideration. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions, and I will submit a copy of this letter, if I may.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. Please give that to Mr. Williams. And the next person that I have on the list is Juanita Martinez. Pardon me? Okay, thank you. All right, you don't have to apologize. I'll just clarify. Then I have Leslie Smith.
Good morning. I just wanted a chance to say that I am opposed to the annexation. I live at 223 Morgan Road.
Would you introduce yourself, please?
Leslie Smith.
Okay.
I think pretty much everybody has already echoed all the same feelings I have about having to lose my well and sewer that I already have at my expense. I'm not rich. I don't have a lot of money. My elderly mother lives on the same property in a house beside me. There's no way at her age that she can afford $10,000 or better that this is going to cost us to hook up. Then we're getting increased taxes, we're going to have to pay money for water and sewer, which we don't currently pay for now because we already have our own. I have horses, which I'll have to get rid of because if I'm in the town, I won't be able to own horses being a town person. And I moved here to be in the country. If I wanted to live in the town, I would have bought in the town. And I also am a little disappointed that, and I'm fairly new here, so I don't know about the politics, but I see representatives from the town, but yet there's nobody representing us from the county. I'm a little curious as to why that happened. Maybe we need to speak up to our representatives. I don't know, but I don't see anybody here representing the county on our behalf like the town has. And so that's my piece. I'd rather not be annexed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. The next person I have is Stephen Ortiz.
Good morning, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to address you again.
Would you go ahead and introduce
yourself?
yourself?
Yes, my name is Stephen Ortiz. I'm in Area 19, and the address is 225 Morgan Road, and I'm Leslie Smith's neighbor. And there's some things I would like to provide to put into the record. And my daughter, who's also signed up on the list, is going to cede her time to me. She's an adult, so I could have 10 minutes, but I won't think I'll take that long.
I'm going to limit you to 5, Mr. Ortiz, because you come here to represent yourself. If your daughter would like to speak on your behalf. Okay. 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 But you're limited to 5 minutes, please.
If you really wanted to make this a public hearing, I would suggest that you would do it at an hour when working people could be here. And I don't appreciate your trying to stifle me. Another neighbor in the back has also ceded me her time to speak as well. I understand you're a cover for the elected officials of the town who don't want to be here and face our wrath, but I think they're making a mistake because los anexados, which we will become if we are incorporated into the town, are not going to forget this, and we will vote each of them out of office. And I also think this is a taking of our property rights, and that's class action lawsuit material. So I'm putting them on notice. I have here a copy of the current, there is no ordinance that the town has written. This is an application for the water and sewer service, the current one, which people are getting. And it says that you will be limited, if you were to get your well grandfathered, to 1/3 of an acre foot. That would reduce my water rights in my instance to 1/9 of what they are now. And I'm also going to have to, I also have a copy of a proposed ordinance, because it's quite correct, they have not passed any ordinance. The proposed ordinance that I have a copy of, which has not been passed, says all kinds of incredible things, such as only contractors who have a registered business in the town of Taos would be able to do the hookups. So in other words, in El Prado, Cuesta, and Española, any licensed New Mexico contractor would not be able to do that. I also have, which I'll submit into testimony, an estimate that I've got from my plumber. It would cost for my property $10,300 for me to hook up. That's just for the main house. If I also got for my casita, my cost would be double because it's further away, more than double. And so a lot of people don't know what the costs are going to be. It's going to be exorbitant. I've already paid for my well. I've already paid for my septic system when I bought my property. And now I'm going to be forced to the expense of decommissioning them and then also getting a bill. This is unconscionable. This is clearly a government taking. Let's talk about the cronyism that some of the other people mentioned. The fellow who spoke for the Water Association is the engineer. He's the twin brother of one of the council members. the former town manager resigned because he said he was being pressured to steer business to that engineering firm who's behind all this work. Another one of the council members, Silva Septic and Excavation, they might think this is a great idea too, especially if you have to have a valid registered town business to be doing these hookups. So they're making themselves rich off, they're like, it's unconscionable that they're doing this to the public. There's 191 properties that are being affected by this. A lot of them on fixed incomes. A lot of them that aren't going to be able to afford this expense. And so I respectfully ask that we are not annexed in. You have the petition from our neighbors. Everyone signed, except one gentleman who came in late who lives on our periphery. And he said he wanted to wait. But we're 100% opposed to being annexed. And let's talk about the proper boundaries and that we're contiguous. Right now, the county is not here to speak because they don't have standing. But they are pursuing lawsuits against prior annexations, which they say were illegally done. Why don't we let the courts decide those annexations before any future annexations are done? Because what I'm saying is the limits of the town then are not actually maybe what the limits of the town are. So if the prior annexations were illegal, then saying that another adjacent property to it is legal, that would not be legal. So before compounding errors, let's wait for clarity from a court of law before we go further along with this. And then there's also the case of notice. How many people are reading newspapers today? Readership is being dropped. You might need to update the code. I understand that's what the code is now. But when I went around with the petition and got my neighbors to sign, there were many of them who had had no notice, no written notice. This time I did. I was introduced to this process in December a few years ago, where out of nowhere they started a road project. Who starts road projects in the middle of the winter? And I'm friends with the county road guy because we both work out at 6 a.m. in the morning. And I said, what's going on? What are you guys doing to my road? And he said, it's not me. It's the town. I said, but it's a county road. And he shrugs. And so no notice giving, no hearings. They just paved the road. And they left it to construction. They started the work in December and left it till spring. So we had to maneuver around potholes and rebar and all sorts of things until they got back to it when asphalt season came back. And the county's maintaining that road. They actually decreased my property value. I loved living in my W home on a dirt road. There's been lawsuits in Santa Fe over people that paved roads that decreased the value of their homes. I feel the same. They damaged my home. They damaged my neighbors' homes when they put that road in. We have a rock wall they put cracks in. They put cracks in my house. And my insurance company doesn't cover that. They say construction related is not covered in your homeowner's policy. It's also uphill for us on my side of the road to connect to the sewer services that they put in. So we're also going to have to put in lift stations, which if they fail, which mechanical things are prone to do, we're going to have backflow into our residences, which also is not covered by your homeowner's insurance. And I do not believe that we're going to get better services from the town. I would think it's quite the opposite. And if you look at their judgment process, they just recently signed a lease for a command center, which is going to cost them a packet. It's also an uninsulated building with glass walls up here at this high altitude, which is probably great if you're the spec builder, which was the electric company, because it has electric heat.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Your time is up. Thank you. We have now Victoria Ortiz. Is that correct?
That's my daughter.
Okay. Well, does she want to speak?
She was going to give me my time.
But she's prepared to speak. We're prepared to hear her.
She has lost her voice.
Okay. Okay. The next one's a little hard for me to read. It's Coleman. Carlson. somebody who lives on 37? No, that's Barbara Downs, but there's a, there, with this first one, is there another, is that, this is the one?
It's Valverde too.
Okay.
37 Valverde.
Oh, there's,
It looks like Mr. Carlson, Mr. and Mrs. Carlson.
okay. What about, there's a Barbara Downs at 37 Valverde?
Yes.
You're together?
Yes.
Would you like to speak?
Yes.
Okay, please come forward.
My name is Barbara Downs. I live at 37 Valverde Park. My
7-7?
37
37.
Valverde Park.
Okay.
My husband and I purchased this property a couple of years ago and put in a very elaborate required septic system that cost us in the neighborhood of $12,000 and a well. We are living on fixed income. There is no way possible that we would be able to afford to spend thousands of more dollars to connect to sewer and water. Also, our road is a private road. We bore part of the cost of building it, and we bear the cost of maintaining it. We are very happy where we are. We retired to Taos, New Mexico County, Taos County, and thought that we would have a quiet life. And now we have this to contend with. We did not receive a letter. I do read the Taos News. In the article in the Taos News, was there a map? How would I know that I was part of this if my neighbor, Mr. Martinez, who spoke first this afternoon, had not told us 2 days ago? And I'm against this annexation.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Downs.
Thank you.
And now we have Ken Blair. Ken Blair? Yeah, Ken, do you want to speak? No, I didn't. You just, okay, there, your name is here as a sign. Somebody I've known. Somebody I've known a long time. Do you wish to speak, Mr. Blair? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. The next one I know as well, Mr. Ernest Romero.
Same thing.
Same thing. Making it easy on us here. The next person I have on the list is Stephen Hall. Stevens Hall. Mr. Hall? Oh, we got somebody. Okay. Thank you. It's an agile man, too.
Good morning. My name is Stevens Hall. I represent only myself and speak for no one else. I'm a member of the Taos community. At the end of the last February's meeting, Mr. Romero, the attorney representing the town, said, and these are all quotes, "Taos is a paradise. When driving up from Albuquerque or Santa Fe, you come to a plateau, beautiful blue skies." And this is the most important part. Quote, "The rich, the famous, who can go anywhere in the world want to come here to live." That was given as justification for these annexations. He went on to say that we had seen the maps, we'd seen the details, the matter was well researched by the town, and he questioned the presence of the county, which you, Mr. Chairman, spoke to this morning. He went on to say, "I think much deference should be given to the council and that it was a democratic process and it represented the essence of democracy." This is the notice in the Albuquerque Journal announcing this meeting, and it says, "Information and a map pertaining to the areas to be considered are available at Town of Taos Clerk's Office, the Library, and the Department of Public Works." None of that is true. I was at all 3 locations yesterday, and none of that information was available. None. This is a copy of the map that I found in the clerk's office, it's not that map on the board. It says Town of Taos annexation. It says Town of Taos proposed annexation. So it may be exactly the same, but it's not the document presented as a matter of record. So none of that information is true. None of it at all. This is I'm reading now from a letter from DFA in response to my IPRA request, an inspection of public records.
Here, here.
It says, on May 7th, the New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration received your request to inspect records regarding the town of Taos' petition to annex various parcels of Taos County, which you indicated was published April 1st in the legal notices of the Albuquerque Journal. You requested, 1, the signed and dated petition to annex, as well as any dated receipt, recognition of filing of said petition with DFA. 2, if there's no single petition as announced in the legal notice, but rather a number of petitions submitted over a number of years, I'd like to inspect each of the signed and dated petitions, which the Boundary Commission will consider, as well as any dated receipt, recognition of filing of said petitions with DFA. And 3rd, I'd like to inspect the petition from the town of Taos to DFA, which requested a meeting of the Municipal Boundary Commission, which request petition is being met by the 23-24 May meeting of the Commission in Taos, and which request petition set in motion NIMSA 3714B. This is the response from DFA. Regarding an annexation petition from the town of Taos and associated materials, we recovered a March 25th letter attached where Taos Mayor Darren Cordova notified DFA of plans to schedule a May 23rd public hearing on the proposed annexation. Otherwise, we recovered no additional documents responsive to your request. Please understand that DFA is currently awaiting the town of Taos' submission of materials related to the proposed annexation you have cited. Some or all of these documents may be responsive to your inspection request. Yesterday, if I can find it, I received notice. Well, here, this is the letter from dated March 25th from Darren Cordova to DFA. I am requesting a public hearing to be scheduled on May 23rd, 2013, and if necessary on May 24th, 2013, at the town's council chambers beginning at 8:30 a.m. The purpose of the hearing is to consider the annexation of properties which are adjacent to the municipal boundaries of the town of Taos. Please feel free. Nothing is included except this letter. So he said, you know, schedule me for the 23rd and 24th, and that's what you folks have done, as opposed to the statute which says that the town will petition you and that you will then establish a meeting date. Let me see if here. I've got the response yesterday from DFA. This is 15:08 yesterday afternoon. As of late this afternoon, DFA has not received the materials from the town of Taos related to your inspection request. As we told you in the May 10th correspondence, we will make the records available for inspection when we obtain them. I think that for me speaks for itself. There's no petition which the statute calls for. You folks are supposed to schedule the meeting as opposed to, you know, answering to the town of Taos saying we want to do it on such and such a date. It's just mind-boggling. These are petitions dated May 23rd, 2011. This one's also dated May 23rd, 2011. Comes now the town of Taos and Municipal Corporation. Comes now the town of Taos and Municipal Corporation. Petition for annexation of territory to the town of Taos. These are petitions that relate to each of or some of these up here. This has been going on for a couple of years now. So what in effect is happening is that there's no beginning and end of how do we approach this process. You just get in line with the town says, okay, here we got a couple more, you know, a few years from now, let's just do this all at once and give us what we want, because the only test is contiguity and provision of services. This area right here, the Weimer area down in here, is a couple hundred acres, was annexed in 1986, and essentially nobody there has any of these services. No water distribution, no sewer collection. There's a map that will demonstrate that. It can be brought to you. It can be printed off in a matter of moments by the Public Works Department. I've seen that map. We means test the least among us for shelter, for food, for health care. Why shouldn't the town of Taos be means tested? Why do they simply come and say, well, it's next door to us and we may provide services, but 30 years can go by, 1986 to 2013, 27 years, and none of those promises have been fulfilled. None. Where's the truth of the matter? This is about stewardship. This is not about ownership. And that's what the town wants to own this in order to receive the monies necessary. Right now, the town is in a precarious financial situation. Just the other day, the county of Taos discussed a matter of oversight of close to $300,000 of funds, reserve funds in the JPA agreement. And the town will not respond to the county with respect to information about those monies. And the county is requesting DFA to audit that account. This is about money, gentlemen. It's just as naked as it can be. It's as simple as that. It doesn't seem to me that that's justification for this annexation. I've read the statute. I know the statute. I'm not an attorney, but I can read. I understand your instructions, Mr. Chairman. At last February's meeting, Jacob Caldwell, the former county manager, speaking on behalf of the county, began by saying, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if my thinking and my argument falls into a circular pattern, and you smiled and chided him gently, and there was this brief exchange. And so Jacob went on. I don't have Jacob's skills. I'm not an attorney, and I'm not going to try and argue the point that he had so much difficulty in arguing, the fact that he couldn't make a case because he didn't have standing. If you want to make good judgments about growth and development, you need good information. You need to know about lands and landscape and soil and water, not just are they next door and can I maybe someday, if I choose to, provide services. That's not what community is about. That's not what servicing community is about. And yes, I understand the limitations of your authority, but at some point in time, we can all stand up and say, no, I can't do this. The best example, obviously, is Watergate, where Nixon finally came to a point where somebody said, no, I won't do it.
Mr. Hall, I'll let you complete your last thought, but you're a little bit beyond your 5 minutes.
My last thought. In the essay Standing by Words, in the book Standing by Words by Wendell Berry, he says, in our ordinary dealings with each other, we take for granted that we cannot understand what is said if we cannot assume the accountability of the speaker, the accuracy of his speech, and mutual agreement on the structures of language, the meanings of words. We assume, in short, that language is communal and that its purpose is to tell the truth.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Thank you.
The next person.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Before you pack up, could you please just, I realize, Mr. Chairman, with your indulgence, that we're going to ask questions of the county kind of in total following these presentations. I want to make sure that I understand what you presented to the commission accurately. And I understand you to say that that map that you have that's rolled up next to your right, that you got that yesterday?
Yes.
From the county?
Yes.
And your testimony is that it says proposed.
Yes.
And that you believe that that is not an accurate map of what has been presented.
Yeah, I didn't say it. What I said is I don't.
That's why I'm trying to ask you for clarification.
I don't know if I said it may be the very same map. The information may be the same. And my point is that at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, it would seem to me that a copy of that map, if that map was available, would be the map that is referred to in this legal notice, and it wasn't the map.
Okay. And I also want to further understand what you said about going and not finding other materials that were referred to in the public notice. Please revisit. I'm sorry to be dense. I want to understand what you're telling the commission. Tell me what you didn't find.
In this notice, it says pursuant to, and then it lists 9 properties, parcels, matters of discussion, whatever they may be, however you may term them. None of those matters, so to speak, were found at any of the locations, were not found at DFA.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. The next person we have is Barbara Montgomery. Excuse me, just a minute. Okay, I think what we'll do, Ms. Montgomery, before we start, we'll take about 7 to 10 minutes leave here, okay? It's now 10:57. My watch might be a little bit. We'll be back here no later than 5 after 11. Yeah. Are you already? Hi, Ken. How are you? Are you going to stay or you heading out? Heading out? It worked so far out there, Ken. I would go out there for lunch. Nice to see you. Fine. Yeah, you're fine. We're with you. We're with you. Nice to see you, Ken.
I'll talk to you in just a couple of minutes. What's that? Oh, you are? Can you see me wave? Well, let me show you. That much. Oh, okay, so it's about 10-second delay or something. All right, man. See you. Talk to you in a bit.
ready? I do think, but I don't think yeah. We don't.
Brian, are you still there? It's Ken Cope. Figured I'd just come say hi because I know you're getting bored just sitting there on the phone.
Probably ask for
Mike, you ready? Yes, sir. Let's go ahead.
So you're watching it on the video? Going back to the session. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. We're gonna reconvene the meeting. Please. The next person that we have on the list is Barbara Montgomery.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Montgomery. I live at 205 SDS Road, Exhibit 19. I'm here to say that I am totally against the annexation. I know this is something that's not even going to be considered, that I will not be able to afford it at all. I live alone. We got our well dug in 1970. I have fruit trees, apple and cherry, and I've established a good lawn and try to keep up my pine trees. I will not be able to pay water fees and connections. I cannot do it. So I am totally against it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Montgomery. Next on the list is Lawrence Montoya. Did I get that correct, Ms. Montoya?
My name's Lawrence Montoya, and I have a place there at 125 and 123 SDS Road. And even though I wasn't prepared to come and talk, I'm not totally against the annexation. I have more questions than anything else. First of all, one of my prime concerns is zoning. You know, if you were going to annex this property, what is the zoning going to be, or what was it going to be? You know, that will determine as far as what we can do or not do with the property. As far as the water and sewer hookups, I bought this property, one of them 10 years ago and the other one 5 years ago. When I bought the property, we had to revamp or redo the septic system, so that costed quite a bit of money to do. My concern is, you know, what's the time period that we would have to, in order to connect, you know, to the city sewer or whatever utilities, which I did put the city sewer and water out there. So that's one of my questions as far as, you know, we already spent this kind of money. I mean, how much time frame would it be for us at least to recoup our costs? And I know for a fact, too, that, you know, we're talking about how much a contractor would charge us, you know, for for the cost of installing the new line, but there's also a fee from the town of Taos, which I don't think has been brought up as far as how much the hookup fee is. The other question that I have is that, okay, so if we don't get annexed, and I don't know if a lot of people don't know this or don't know this, Mr. Abeta addressed us a while ago on the part of El Valle de los Ranchos. If we don't get annexed into this town, El Valle de los Ranchos still will probably have jurisdiction for this area, so eventually we are going to have to hook up to that sewer. Because they can buy that sewer line or whatever they do, and it's just a matter of time of when this is going to happen. So, you know, like I said, I'm not totally against it. I'm not against it. You know, it's just a matter of questions that I have as far as the services and what it costs and how much time it would allow people to do things. Because, like I said, that sewer hookup, it's going to come. You know, whether it's through the town or it's going to be through El Valle de los Ranchos. The taxes, that's the other end of it. Yeah, we're probably going to pay higher taxes if we come into the town, which I understand. We all have to pay taxes. But the other end of it, it's either going to be to the town or El Valle de los Ranchos. So, you know, in the long run, it's one or the other. So I don't know which one's more beneficial, and I wish I could have had something to see what the difference is between El Valle de los Ranchos or the town of Taos. Other than that, as far as the services, you know, I do agree. I do believe that the town provides better police services, and you know, I right now pay the town for trash hookup. I have no problem, but like I said, it's more questions that I have, and I hope you know, we get them answered. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montoya. Okay, let's wait till we get him back. Just while we're waiting, the next person up is Lorraine Montoya. Okay. And then we had here in the
Brian, are you there?
we had on the list here is Alex Abeta, but I believe he's spoken already. I believe the next one I have up is Anthony Perez. If you'll be patient a minute, Mr. Perez, we'll see if we can get the town attorney back on.
Brian? Sorry, it wasn't me, it was Mr. Frakebaum.
Welcome back. Mr. Perez?
My name is Anthony Perez, and I live on 320 Calle Cristal. I am actually in favor of the annexation. I've lived here all my life. I've seen city limits be from Cachino Lodge to the drive-in. You know, we used to have dirt roads. Now we have paved roads. The town of Taos has grown. I think it needs to grow. We can't be stifled by the county and individuals that don't want to see growth. The town of Taos has to provide services for public works. They have public pools. They have fire departments, public libraries. Somebody has to pay for that. We have Cuesta, Peñasco, Amalia, plenty of places that use all these infrastructures, and you know, nobody wants to pay for them. I mean, somebody has to pay for them eventually. I know my taxes will go up. I know I'll have fees that I got to pay, but you know, we can't stop growth, and that's my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Next is Edgar Meyer.
My name is Edgar Meyer. My wife and I live at 508 Verde Road, and it's Section 3. Yes, you have it there in front of you. Of your two criteria, we clearly are in that region that is contiguous, being half city and half county, and right now declared county. The issue I think that I'm concerned about is the public services, your second criterion. And there, I think people who have preceded me have made a far better case than I would make just in the few minutes here about the poor job the city has done in preparing for this hearing, for making information available, for informing the people who are involved as to what services, specific services, committed services, would be provided over against, again, nebulous expenses that, again, so far as I know, hasn't really been made clear. So the hearing that was held about a year ago, the city did a fairly poor job in preparing itself. For this hearing, I'm appalled how poorly the city has made its presentation. Like the speaker before, I'm proud as a citizen to pay my taxes and to live in this town of Taos, the county of Taos, and I'm not against paying taxes at all, but there's an accountability, a quid pro quo that makes for a good civic environment, and the city could do a better job. And the city government has not really distinguished itself in the last couple of years. The ball is in their court as far as I'm concerned, and I would imagine in terms of your judgment, the ball is in the court of the city as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. The next person that we have on our list is Debbie Lujan.
Hello, I'm Debbie Lujan. I live on 312 Calle Cristal, and I moved into my property in 1985. I've been there almost 29 years, going on 30. When I first moved in, there was no landscaping. I have landscaped at my house, my yard. I'm against the annexing because I was a single parent. I worked 2 jobs to put my daughter to college. It's been really hard with just the taxes alone. Last year for the county, they went up almost $200. And now I talked to Rudy yesterday, and he says they're going to be going up again if this does pass. And that means I've already gone up $200, and then in 3 or 4 months they'll be writing us a letter, he says, about sending us how much more we're going to be paying on taxes. The cost of doing that, I'm not sure I can afford it. I'm not aware of exactly how much. I've heard around $4,500 to $10,000. I don't have that money to do it. I work 2 jobs right now just to make it and help my daughter pay her college. The taxes, I'm just really afraid, you can't afford it right now. I pay half, and then I'm paying, I haven't even paid my second half. And if this goes up, it's going to be a lot more cost for me. With the water, I know my parents in El Prado, they have their own well, and they have the Prado water, and their well had just recently broken last year, and so they weren't able to water with their well. So I know their water bill went up at least $60, $50 more just to keep their lawn alive. And that's my concern, is do I have to pay extra to keep my beautiful landscape in my backyard and my front yard if they decide not to let us use our wells? I have talked, about a year ago, I talked to one of the council members, and he said they were going to probably want us to stop using our wells if we connect to the water. And I paid for that well. I don't think I should have to. They need to tell me to stop using my water after I paid for my well. Gentleman just talked to me about them putting a meter on our well if we do use our wells. I do not think they should tell us how much water we should use from our wells and what we don't. Irrigation well is what I would use it for if it does come through, which I don't want it to come through, but if I do have to connect. I just can't see me having to lose my trees and my bushes and my lawn because of the cost of the water. I know that they did put in the highway, which is really nice. They paved the road on Estes Road, and they say they're gonna service us. Right now, they dug up the road on Estes Road on Estes, and for some reason, they dug up another part, and they haven't even fixed it. They left it all dirt with bumps of dirt and everything, so they're not even servicing us the pavement right now. I mentioned that to Rudy yesterday when I talked to him because I wasn't sure what this meeting was about, and he said that was something to bring up. So if they're going to service us the way they're already maintaining our road, that's not really good because there's a big section about this one corner where the pavement, they dug up the pavement and now it's just a bump of dirt over it. And I'm not sure what that was all about. That's about it. I'm against it. I think we're paying enough taxes as it is. And just as a single person living in a single household, it's hard with one income. I do work a second job just to make it. And I've been doing that since my daughter was 9 years old. And I thought maybe after she was done with college, I would be able to stop my second job. I work 7 days a week. I don't see that in the future. And then also getting this other extra expenses from the town. I'm not for this at all. I'm opposing everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lujan. Thank you for coming. The next speaker we have is Joe Thomas.
Good morning. My name is Joe Thomas, or Joseph Thomas. I'd like to talk about one of the parameters you said you can consider, which is can the town provide the services that they say they will provide if they are successful in their annexation. So I would like you to consider that a lot of these areas that are proposed in their annexation are very the population density is a minimum one household per acre. And in the Weimar area, it's anywhere from 3 to 5 acres per household. So that's an enormous expense for the town to try to service all these homes because of the density is so widespread. And considering their past performance in providing services to the Weimar area that has previously been annexed, I would just like you to consider those things when you make your decision. And that's really all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. The next person that I have is Aaron Lewis.
Good morning, Chairman, Council. My name is Aaron Lewis. I own property at 207 Morgan Road. I own 2 parcels of land. One is a empty piece of land. The other one, I have a rental property on it. Both of my tenants adamantly told me they would move if it gets annexed by the town. I find it very interesting that I got notice by a letter, and I was assuming I was coming to see the town council, not a boundary committee. Obviously, my ignorance shows and my lack of ability to understand what the town is doing. Personally, I don't think the town is going to provide any service to me, which is about the only thing I unfortunately can say to you about this process, because as I find when I come to the meeting, I thought I'm getting a chance to be able to express my either interest in wanting to be part of the town or not wanting to be part of a town, and I find when I come here that I'm being told, hey, we're limiting you to only discuss this. personally, I think that's not a very democratic process, and maybe that's part of my ignorance. I should be maybe addressing all of this to the town council, but since I don't live in town, and the property at the moment, I can't go and talk to them and have any say. They don't care. I don't get to vote for them. I can complain. So I kind of feel like I'm being taken here, which I think a lot of other people have tried to express the same thing to you. This is a taking by the town of Taos. Now, I've been here 20 years in New Mexico. I've owned this piece of property since 2005. I've known for many years the town has threatened by various articles in the newspapers that they were going to annex this area. Area 19 is the area that my property is in, along with other areas. I've at various times gone and talked to previous mayors and previous county commissioners about all of this process, and basically found that as a person who is a taxpayer and somebody who tries very hard to be part of the democratic process, that I really am shut out of the process. And I'm really not part of it. Basically, the town's going to do what they want, whether I like it or not. I am also a business owner in Taos County. I'm a building contractor. I was very much interested in what was going on with Morgan Road and SDS Road in the last couple of years when they paved it and put in a sewer line and put in water lines that didn't exist before, because my properties I own are on a well, which I had to pay for, and have a septic system in. But I was interested as a potential property owner to build a house on the property and be able to connect up to the sewer system and the water system. And I was talking to the county Public Works Department. And every time I would talk to them about when they were going to put in these services, it was the county that was putting them in, not the town. I find it very interesting that in the presentation that Ed made, it says here that the town paved and installed water and sewer services. Now, maybe the town and the county had some kind of interaction, but I was out there talking to the people who were doing the work. They were private contractors. They were contracted by the county. There was a county supervisor on site. I talked to him, not a town supervisor. Now, maybe this is, again, showing my ignorance, but here I come to this meeting and I'm being told that the town did it. The town never did that work. Maybe they helped come up with the money for it in conjunction with the county. Since I don't get informed as a citizen, even though I'm paying the taxes, I guess they figure, hey, they're doing their jobs and, I should let them alone to do their jobs properly. Personally, I feel they don't do a very good job. The town of Taos at the moment scares me as a governmental entity. Why? Because they're struggling monetarily and they make bad decisions. And they allow people to come and say how they feel, but then they go and they make the decisions. I have to pay for those bad decisions. I feel like this is just another one of those particular instances where, and I appreciate you guys at least allowing me to try to speak to this, I feel like I'm getting locked out of the process. That no matter what I say, the town's going to do what they want. Now, personally, I have a difference of opinion about whether an arroyo or a road makes a good county or town limit. What difference does it make? Roads are put in by human beings. Arroyos were put there by God. Who's the higher order here? Okay? Now, I also see up on Area 19, it says that the town is the one that's maintaining SDS Road and Morgan Road. Since I don't live on the property and I can't stop the grader
when the guy comes to grade the road for snow and to say, are you county, are you town? And they don't always have, by the way, they don't always have emblems on their equipment, so you can't tell. You have to actually ask the driver if he'll stop. So I don't know for sure that the town is maintaining that road or not. At this point, I thought it was the county. I'm paying my taxes to the county, not the town. So personally, I'm opposed to the annexation. I feel that at least as a commission, you should take a look at some of these things that are being told to you by the town representatives. I don't think they're all 100% accurate.
Mr. Lewis, can you kind of bring it to a conclusion? You're
Yeah.
a little over your 5 minutes.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So basically, I would say I don't want the annexation as an owner, and I also feel that this is a burden to the people that own the property in the area, because not only are taxes going to go up, I happen to know how much it's going to cost to make the sewer and water hookups and to pay the fees. And people on fixed incomes, I know you don't consider this, but you know that's what we have to deal with. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the last person. Yeah. I'll acknowledge him when we're finished there. The last person I have public comments is Jane Mingenbach. Have I got your name even close?
No, didn't.
Normally I don't.
Okay. Oh. Okay. I'm part of the, I have three parts.
Please
Excuse me?
introduce yourself first.
Oh,
Hi.
Jane Mingenbach.
Okay.
Okay. I have a map here for the record of the 3 parcels of land that we own in the Mabel Dodge Lujan complex.
Did you want to submit those?
Yes, I'd like to submit this.
Okay.
And I would like to be asked if this happens, that we would like all the parcels to be zoned R6 or higher. We would like to keep the agricultural well at the barnyard, at the historical barnyard, which we are fixing up. And we also have well issues on the other properties too, where we have grandfathered in wells. We'd like to keep those. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the extent of the list for public participants. Is there somebody that is a public participant that didn't get to sign one of the list and wants to make a presentation? Go ahead. I would ask you to come and sign the list if you would, please, before you start. Okay, thank you.
My name is Georgia Page, and I have a question. I know that
Could you say,
Mr.
you've done it pretty quick. Is Georgia Page?
Page, sorry. Mr. Rodriguez did promise to define reasonable time for putting in the sewer, and he did mention that the grandfathered people would have 10 years before they had to sign up. Does this mean 10 years from the time the line, the sewer line or water line is put in, or is it 10 years from today or whenever the annexation occurs? I think this is an extremely important issue, reasonable time. The town of Taos is not known for acting in a reasonable time, so I think it's a big issue you should consider. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Anybody else that wanted to speak that didn't have an opportunity? Okay. That concludes that part. I'd understood there's a county representative here. We asked for the county presentation earlier, but are you here to make a presentation? Would you introduce yourself, please? And
Mr. Chairman, my name is Rick Bellis. I'm the Deputy County Manager for Taos County and also the Planning Director at this time. I am not here to make a presentation at this time. I was just here to observe. I believe that the county attorney had previously filed paperwork with you, and I'm not sure if she's scheduled to present before you.
thank you. I would just say that we asked for a county presentation after the city, assuming that they would be here. Nobody presented, and if you're not here on behalf of the commission, with the commission's authority, then that'll be it. I think that concludes then public officials' comment and public comment, and we have about 20 minutes before we might break for lunch. So what we could do, Mr. Rodriguez, is begin to have the town of Taos respond to the concerns of the citizens as they were expressed, and with respect to some of those issues. And I know I'm going to turn it over to the commissioners to go ahead and ask any questions of Mr. Rodriguez at this stage. Mr. Caruso?
Mr. Chairman, I would ask that maybe you could respond to some of the presentations first, because many of my questions may be answered in your responses, if that would be permissible with you.
Of course. And Commissioner Correjo? Okay. Mr. Rodriguez, would you proceed, please?
Yes, sir. I want to tell you, again, for the record, my name is Oscar Rodriguez, town manager. I want to tell you that assisting me with answering these questions will be our town attorney, who's on the radio, who's on speakerphone. I'll make sure we have it there. And so what I'll do is I'll defer any questions as to what our ordinances say, any questions of law like that, local law, to him on matters of services and things like that. We'll take them. We'll take those directly. So a question, commissioners, that I heard come up time and again, and we anticipated this. These are questions we had gotten extra officially from the interested parties, the property owners themselves. And the question is, if I have a well, when would I be required to connect to town services? If I have a sewer, a septic system, when would I be required to connect to the town services? That question is addressed, or at least there is a town policy that guides how we decide those questions, and I would defer those questions to Mr. Brian James, our town attorney. Brian?
Thank you, Oscar. This is Brian James, the Taos town attorney, and I have, I hope, a list of questions here that needed to be addressed, and we'll try to address them all in a relatively short amount of time. First of all, I would point out that this hearing is essentially a rehearing. Most of these properties, the vast majority of them, were subject of an earlier hearing, which we were requested to redo at the suggestion of the Office of the Attorney General. There were issues relative to the numbers of days notice. I don't know if it was a 4-day discrepancy between the amount of notice that was provided and the hearing date. So this is a re-hearing. I suspect that the reason that the County of Taos is not present today is that the County of Taos instituted this process by indicating to the town of Taos that either the town
Brian, just a second. Commissioner
Bond.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Bond has a question.
Mr. James, just so you understand, that the understanding of this commission is that this is not a rehearing but a new hearing, because we didn't incorporate any of the prior testimony and can't, according to the Attorney General's office, into this hearing, and therefore we are taking this de novo. Please proceed.
Did you get that, Brian?
Yes, Commissioner Bond said that we're proceeding as a de novo hearing.
Yes.
And I understand that, and I think that we've covered the basis for that. Anyway, the county had either instituted or threatened litigation relative to some of the annexation issues with the split properties, with the lost paperwork, and that's the genesis for this hearing. The town was requested to do this. As a matter of fact, one of the first things that occurred after I was appointed as town attorney, I had lunch with the legal counsel from Taos County, and the topic of that lunch almost exclusively was the town reinstituting this process and getting this boundary commission hearing done. Relative to the notice, I think it's already been noted on the record, and we've moved to admit those exhibits that the town has submitted previously to the commission into the record, which I think the Assistant Attorney General is kind enough to already do. To the extent that that didn't happen, we would move that happen now. At any rate, in addition to the statutory notice that the Department Finance and Administration published in the Journal North, the town undertook a couple of publications in the Taos News, and the town went the additional step of sending letters relative to this hearing to each of the property owners based on the addresses of record in the county of Taos. So we took those two additional steps to ensure notice relative to this. Relative to the ordinances and the resolutions and the maps, those have been available to the public for an extended period of time. All the maps you see today were prepared by the Department of Public Works. It's difficult for me to imagine that they would tell any citizen that went there that they didn't have them. They actually, in fact, prepared them. Relative to the issue of sewer hookups, the Boundary Commission may have heard of, or maybe it will take judicial notice of, quasi-judicial notice of the abated water rights settlement. The abated water rights settlement took 40 years to evolve to a settlement agreement. The settlement agreement has been signed. The court order embracing and entering the settlement agreement has not been entered at this point in time. It's probably several months away from that relative to notice requirements. The only reason I raised the abated settlement is that the abated settlement is a far-ranging and all-inclusive Taos Valley water rights adjudication. There are numerous parts of it that remain, and among those are the water rights of the individuals who reside in Taos Valley relative to wells. The Asakias have signed off on those water rights, and the gravamen of that is that while the town has a water plan, and it was adopted comprehensively in 2003, is at section, I believe, 13 of our code, and it provides a comprehensive water plan, and it provides for a comprehensive methodology for future water use in Taos County. For example, 60% of it is to be used residential, 40% of it is to be used for non-residential. The ordinance does anticipate that at some point in time, those folks that have water and wells and septic systems will be hooked into the system. The methodology for that is going to depend on the adjudication of the abated, finishing of the adjudication of the abated case, and that involves something called intersave, where the individual water rights owners establish whatever water right it is that they have. So to that extent, although the ordinance does provide for a hookup within 1 year, our policy and the ongoing abated case preclude enforcement of that. The only thing that the town is enforcing right now, because it's an absolute certainty from the abated settlement, is that we're not allowing residential subdivisions with wells. So we're trying to restrict the introduction of new wells into the basin, as it's certainly going to be our obligation in the future. The good news about Abeta is that the town has secured water rights adequate for its current needs and anticipated future needs. The Taos Pueblo has done the same thing. There's a mechanism from the Pueblo to sell water rights, and all those things play into our ordinance. So although the ordinance does provide what it provides right now, in the absence of the completion of the beta, the interstate adjudication, the town council has opted not to enforce the strict terms of that ordinance except relative to new construction. How that's going to play out is literally going to be a matter of years, I would suspect, but the status quo is being preserved right now, with the exception that we do have an ordinance that does not allow a new well, and we have an ordinance that does not allow a failed well to be re-drilled. That said, there's two other questions that came up. One was relative to rezoning. The town understands, as required by its own code, that rezoning will be necessary for these parcels. It's the town's position that a rezoning hearing is going to have to occur on all 327 of them in some way, shape, or form. Anybody that has concerns about rezoning will certainly have a public hearing to air those concerns, and those will take place over the period of months, I would imagine, following the decision of the Boundary Commission, if the Boundary Commission accepts this annexation. So each of those property owners will have a separate hearing relative to their rezoning concerns. There is no time limit in the town's code for the rezoning. It simply says it shall be rezoned. And lastly, there was a question as to whether there's a provision requiring local contractors. There's no provision in our code requiring local contractors to hook anybody up to anything. Provision in the code is that anybody that does do hookups have proper licensure. So I think that addresses all the questions that I wrote down, and would be very happy to try to address specific questions from the commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. James. Commissioner Correjo?
Yes, Mr. James, this is Commissioner Correjo. I do have a couple of questions pertaining to some of the statements you just made. One is, you made a statement about the town council has chosen to not enforce some of the ordinances. How does the town council decide to not enforce an ordinance?
Well, it's sort of a byproduct of an informal moratorium, I guess, for back of the letter word. The town council looks to the town attorney's office for advice on enforcement of the ordinance issues, and at this point in time, our office is just not prepared, nor could anybody who sat in this office be prepared to say with the beta stuff still in flux exactly what should happen. So we are at the direction of council not pursuing any enforcement activities whatsoever relative to the terms of our ordinance, and are pursuing, if people ask for new permits, that we're not doing subdivisions on wells.
Okay, and Mr. James, I have another question. You made a statement that the county had requested you to initiate this annexation process. Was I correct in hearing that?
Yes, you were.
Okay.
And I say that because there was going to be, or was started, litigation regarding some of these issues, and the response to trying not have that litigation or get it dismissed was that the town would pursue this annexation, primarily the issue with the county being from their assessor, who was objecting to doing what were called administrative lot splits for those parcels that were bisected between the town and the county.
Commissioner, now, of course, the 196 acres of land that we found were islands, county islands, unincorporated islands within the town limits, also areas that we saw that we were already serving. Those are areas that the town initiated. Those are our initiative. Okay. So and the part that we're saying that the county asked us to move forward on were those corrective ones. Either there was no documentation for them or the lots were split. It's about 76, about 72 acres.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm not certain how would you like us to proceed with all the questions or just the questions pertaining to Mr. James's statements?
I think Mr. James indicated that was the questions that he found during the hearing. If you have some additional questions that you don't think he addressed, please feel free to ask them. Commissioner Pereira.
Mr. James, one item that was brought up in someone's testimony, and I'm sorry I didn't write down whose testimony, but that there were parcels that were annexed in 1986 that still do not have services. Are you aware of that? Is that a correct statement to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, we have not provided services to all the previous annexations. Are in the plans, but they're not 100% provided. I think that's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Rodriguez, did you have further comment?
Yes. In our presentation, or the presentation that Mr. Ramsey made earlier, we noted there where exactly the services were. I mean, we summarized it as well as we showed you where the particular infrastructure was. There was some testimony, over the course of the morning that said that they did not have service, and in some of those parcels, we showed you exactly where those lines were, et cetera. Some of the parcels also that we're asking your consent to annexation, approval of our annexation request is our properties that, although are not served, are bisected by the town limits. And so, and you saw a couple of parcels there where they have been considered inside the town limits for some time now, and although they were bisected and there were no services available. And in some cases, and I think very few of those cases, there's habitation there that the inhabitants rely on a septic system and a water well. We could go over those parcels with you if you want. I mean, we have all that documentation.
Right, and I believe that the commission, we probably will go over each of those individually at a later time. These were just general questions. One of the other issues that was brought up this morning was the idea that if these parcels are annexed and eventually they would have to cap their wells within a 10-year time frame, and if they were permitted to continue to use their wells for agricultural purposes or irrigation, that they would be limited to 1/3 of an acre-foot a year. Now, is this a process that would be initiated by the town of Taos, or is this a process being initiated by the state engineer's office?
State engineer's office, Brian James. That will definitely be implemented by the state engineer's office pursuant to the resolution of the interstate portion of the Abeta case.
Can I follow up with a question there? I apologize for breaking in on your Commissioner Correjo. There was also the concern about metering of the well. Is that also a condition of the Abeta settlement, Mr. James?
Yeah, water use. The metering of wells is really controversial. It's certainly one of the, forgetting the interstate portion, just the general overall administration of the Taos Valley, it's a huge issue that remains to be resolved. But it will come from the state engineer's office. The state has absolute jurisdiction over the water use in New Mexico, and we can look to them for guidance in that. This is a difficult problem that is far from being resolved.
Yes, we know we're dealing with water issues throughout the state, but those were my questions on water. One of the other issues that I had was considering the roads that you paved and the utilities that you laid in what would seem to be county right-of-ways prior to the annexation has not been granted. do you have an MOU or a JPA with the county in order to do this? How was that, how did that process come about?
Well, it would be a different answer depending on the parcel. I think the biggest one that you heard about here was Estes Road, and that is a county road. And the town paid it in collaboration, or in collaboration with the county. The county paid for part of it. The town paid for part of it, and it was under the construction was under town supervision. We maintain that now, and yes, we are also responsible for that pothole that's there right now that will be taken care of this summer. Construction season doesn't start here till much later than other places in New Mexico, and so that's going to be on our list to be repaired. Mr. James, do you have any more on that particular issue?
No.
The other item I had a question about would be concerning utility easements. And would the city purchase these utility easements, or would you use the condemnation process in order to get these utilities to the parcels that you're looking to annex?
Mr. James, let me weigh on in a little bit here as also the planner for the town. Easements, to our understanding, is when they're granted as utility easements, are therefore open to utility companies or utility services, et cetera. So as we annex, we would look to those utility easements for access the way that they offer access to the county or people outside the county. So we believe that those utility easements will be available to us as we annex. Now, for any other areas that where there are no utility easements presently, and we would need them, and to extend services, et cetera, obviously we try to negotiate them being granted to the town with the landowners. Failing that, and if we find that it's important for us to continue to proceed and to condemn for those utility easements, then we will do so in the same way that we extend utility services throughout our community inside the town limits now. It's every municipality. I have been in this business for some time. Every municipality does this with great caution and only as a matter of last resort.
And then my final question that I have at this point in time is there's been considerable conversation this morning about how the split lots are a problem for the county assessor in assessing the property for tax purposes. Could someone give me a little more background on that? Because it would seem, my background is of being a county treasurer before I became a manager. So I don't think Taos County and the town of Taos is the only place that's an issue, and I didn't know how it became such an issue here.
I would defer that to Mr. James, who heard that explanation directly from the county's legal counsel. Mr. James?
Yeah, this is really strange, very strange. Somehow when these lots that are bisected got platted, they ended up being bisected. And it's the county assessor's position that those need to be separated into two separate parcels for tax purposes. And I've never been a county assessor, so I don't know why he feels that way, but they definitely do, and are very concerned that the process they have been using, the so-called administrative lot split, doesn't really exist in New Mexico law, and thought that the correction would be to get the parcels all into either the county or all into the city, or into the town, excuse me. So that's really as much as I know about it, that the county assessor has found it to be not only inconvenient, but maybe extra legal.
Yes, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, our trusty Public Works Director, Mr. Francisco Espinosa, has just handed me copies of the agreements that we had with the county when we paved those roads. And what I'd like to do, with your permission, is submit those to the record. And we have the originals here, so in a matter of minutes, we'll get you copies and submit those. If it's
What we'll
it's
do
okay.
is we'll break for lunch here in a bit, but maybe you could get copies of those
Yes.
things that you want to submit for the record so that we have a marked exhibit for that purpose. Commissioner Trejo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all the questions I have at this time.
Okay, let me ask you.
You'd ask so
Let me ask Mr. James, would you be available if we took about an hour break now, an hour from now?
Oh, yeah, I'm making myself available at the commission's pleasure. I appreciate you indulging me appearing over the phone. I know it's not ideal.
Well, we understand that you have a family emergency, and we respect that. Okay, what we'll do is we'll take a bit of a recess. It's right at noon now. I would hope that we could reconvene at 1:10. We're now in recess.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.